2 years. That's how long Evyatar David has been held in captivity, far from his family, his friends, and the music of his life. On this special episode of Some Future Day, we retrace the hours that changed everything, the search that hasn't stopped, and the quiet heroism of a family carrying hope through darkness. I had the honor of speaking with Evyatar's brother, Ilay David, who refuses to let the world look away.
We cannot give up. We will fight. I will fight for my brother until my last breath. I know my parents will do the same.
Ilay has turned the world upside down to rescue his beloved brother. But what have the United Nations, Red Cross, Bibi Netanyahu, and President Trump done to rescue the hostages?
I try to be the most effective as I can, and I see that the American ministry is one to trust. The President of the United States is the most important player in this game because of his influence on the area.
And why does it seem like President Trump has done the most for the hostages? On this 2-year mark of his captivity, we remember the person, not just the politics, not just the headlines, not just the anti-Semitism. And we explore what justice, compassion, and action look like now for Evyatar and for every hostage still waiting. Ilay David, how are you today? Welcome to Some Future Day.
Hi, Mark. Thank you for having me.
It's great to see you today. Are you in Israel today?
Yes, I'm in Israel, in Jerusalem.
I know you love Jerusalem. I remember you mentioned that you had moved there. What's the general sentiment now as we're approaching, 2 years of this crisis situation, of 2 years of hostages and war and terror? What's the sentiment in Jerusalem today?
I think in general, the sentiment of us Israelis and the Jewish nation is confused. A lot of confusement and uncertainty and stress. Um, it's so hard when so many brothers and sisters of ours are still being held captive by those murderers, and to be a hostage family in it, it's a torture. I mean, we are in a journey that we've never imagined we're going to participate in. It's at the beginning we thought it's going to be, I don't know, a matter of days, maybe weeks. We have never imagined it's going to be that long. But there is one thing that haven't changed, and it's faith and hope that eventually Evyatar will come back, hostages will come back, and everything will be okay, and we could go back to our normal lives.
So how do you find that faith? How do you find that hope? Is that something that it's easier for your generation? Do your parents, for example, my generation, do they still have the type of hope and fate and strength to drive through this?
They do. I think every one of us is dealing with the situation a bit differently, but all of us share the same faith and the same hope. Uh, I know, I know, not only believe, I know, I manifest the day that I returns. And I know my parents do the same. I know my sister is doing the same. And it's like, you know what we saw in the last video when we saw Evyatar, and since day one, when we saw him, when we saw that he's alive, we saw that Evyatar is alive on October the 7th. We understand that he's kidnapped and it was horrible and it crushed our world, but we understood Evyatar is alive. And that's what gives us the strength to continue, because we know that he survives. And we saw on the last video, we could see into his eyes. We could see that the only thing that holds him is faith. We know that he manifests the same things that we manifest. It's something cosmic, and it's like, we cannot give up. We will fight. I will fight for my brother until my last breath. I know my parents will do the same.
I know you will, and I can't wait until that day where the two of you and your sister and the rest of your family are together again. I feel like it's going to be soon. I feel like it's imminent. The talks are going. Again, I realize that the talks, there are always these moments where we're hopeful and things are shining in a positive light, but I just feel it. I feel like it's imminent. Ever since I had a meeting with you and your sister in New York City, I felt like this energy, this positive energy. I feel good about it. I look forward to the day when I meet your brother. I'm looking forward to that day coming. But one thing that we spoke about with regards to your brother, your younger brother, is what a fantastic human being he is. I know that your family is really, very impressive. Each person individually, you share their backgrounds, but your brother in particular is very impressive. I know first, for example, you mentioned his love for music as an artist himself. Tell me a little bit about your brother. What's like? What was his music capabilities? What type of music was his favorite?
Gladly. I think Evyatar was very, um, he was doing a mess everywhere when he were a kid, a young kid, and he was very young. He's 4 years younger than I, um, and we were always together. We had the same hobbies. We shared the same interests. Um, we were going to the same after classes. And Evyatar, I remember it like it was yesterday. He came to my parents and he said, "I want to learn to hit the drums." And he was such an hyperactive kid. Um, it was impossible to bring drums to our apartment if we want to, stay in good relations with our neighbors. So they started to negotiate, and eventually they said to him that he's going to learn play the guitar, and he said, "Okay, I'm going to play the guitar, but it's gonna be electric guitar, nonetheless."
That's cool.
Um, yeah, and in that time he was about 10, I think, and he started to listen to metal and hard rock, um,
At
and I
10?
think yes, and I think
Who turned
that's
him on? How did he discover like what kind of rock and what kind of metal? Like who was he listening to at 10?
I think it was a fan sevenfold 3 days grace. It had, of course, the classic ones, AC/DC, Guns N' Roses. Um,
Wow. So he's a Guns N' Roses fan. Is this your influence or he just discovered it on his own at 10?
I think his friends did the job.
Wow.
He has a very good friend that's also a hostage now, Guy Gilboa Dalal. They're the same age. They're friends since forever. They're best friends. Um, and I think it was him that um, brought Evyatar to this world. Both of them, by the way, play the guitar. And Evyatar also has a really good voice. That's something we discovered only when he matured. And
Oh,
every week we had this. I play the piano, not as good that as he plays the guitar, but I also play. And we um, every week at my parents we were playing on Friday nights, playing music, singing. To be honest, I really miss his voice. I mean, his voice was so stable and pleasant to the ear.
את מסתובבת, את מסובבת את כולם, את לא מולדת, יש לך את כל העולם, את מהפכת את כל מי שמביט לראות איך את רוקדת.
He's very, very musical. He's a very good musical ear and hearing. He's very talented, very, very talented. And he also told me the last time we like really spoke about it. He told me that he want to study music production to take it to the next level. Um, he was also really into raves and celebrations. And although he's very shy, I mean, I think it's a part of his complex character, that he's very shy, but he loves to dance and going to parties and festivals. Um, and he's part of this beautiful community. The Nova community is a beautiful community with amazing people from all over the world. Um, and he's also, I think, a listener. He's a very good listener. And that's something I wish I had a friend like Evyatar, because he's always there. You always know that he's there. He became, I told you, was very hyperactive when he was young, but when he got matured, he became much more calm. Everything's under control, like chilling, no hurry, no rush, never in a rush. This
Was he like
sensation.
wise beyond his years? Like it sounds like he has an older soul.
I don't think that's the thing. I think it's just
Uh,
um, it's a very good question. I think he's just there's something very kind about him. Very kind, very modest. I think it comes from them. This modesty is very good. He's a very good son to my parents, for example. He was like when he grew up, he was a mess, a complete mess. Um, really, I mean, me and him, we did balagan, we say in Hebrew, everywhere, which is a very big mess. And it was very annoying, but something really changed, took him to the other side of the scale. He became much more sensitive and modest and calm, and also very sensitive to my parents. He's always there. He lives with them. He takes care of them. He's always there to say good night and good morning, to give them a hug. He's very supportive of them, and I actually learned.
how intelligent is he? Like I know your family has it seems like everyone you told me about, and I met you and your sister, and everybody's very intelligent in different ways, some more academic and scientific, others more natural. Like was your brother also is your brother very intelligent too?
Um, I think he is, but in a different way. He has the best musical skills, musical intelligence. Um, because he's not like I'm more into science and technology, and I know that he has a vast knowledge about many things, but I know that what is in his interest is just making music, having fun. Right? I mean, he's still very young. He's like 24, and he want to travel the world and discover the world and explore things. Um,
He's
but he's
24 now.
Yeah, now he's 24.
So he was 22 then when he was
Yeah.
at Nova.
Yes.
And you mentioned Guy is his best friend for life. So is your brother a very loyal person?
I think so. Yes, I really think so. That's what I've heard from all of his friends, and I got to know all of his friends since October the 7th. And the story is kind of the same everywhere. He's the most loyal friend. He's the listener of the group. He's always there for them. And I think being such a kind soul, that's what makes him right now the perfect victim. Same goes for Guy, to be honest. Both of them, they're so kind, so sweet, such a sweet kids. It makes them very, very vulnerable.
So when you use the words perfect victim for your brother and for Guy, what do you mean? What's a perfect victim?
I think um, at the situation where they are right now, um, the people who are guarding them are um, they can be abusive and cruel, and we have evidence that they are abusive and cruel.
Clearly.
And yeah, and Evyatar, he just want to survive. Okay, he just want to survive. He don't want to hurt anybody, and he will do anything they'll ask him. Uh, only for him to stay alive. That's why I think that he was chosen to be starved to this point. They use him in their propaganda, and they starved him to a point where he can die. So um, it's not only because they're cruel and abusive; it's also because he's very vulnerable. Um, I think, same happened when they brought a veteran guy out on February to watch other hostages being released. It also was some kind of tortural, emotional torture, and not every hostage experienced it. So when I ask myself why them, I get my answer, because they're so current.
That's interesting. So you see then there's a very clear division between the evil world of Hamas versus what your brother and Guy have been put through. I mean, you mentioned it was February when Guy and your brother were brought out in the car to see some of their hostages, well, some of the Israeli hostages being freed, right, on the stage,
Yes.
paraded out like as if it was a circus. Um, I remember that moment very clearly, the two of them sitting in the back of that car. I mean, it was a horrible, horrific situation. When you saw that image, what were you like? What went through your mind?
Wow. It was, I mean, it was cosmic. When it happened, I was sitting in a conference in Washington, D.C. President Trump was just about to give a speech on stage, and I was like third or fourth row from the stage with other hostage families and captivity survivors. And right next to me was Gal, which is Guy's older brother. So both of us came there to advocate for our brothers, but we had no idea that they are being held together, for example. We had no idea this video is coming out. And we're sitting right next to each other when this video is coming out on Telegram. And we watch it together, and imagine the situation. There are like 3,000 people in the hall, in this room, very big room. And Trump was about to give a speech. So you cannot go out or go in. It's like you're stuck in there, and there's that video on your phone. My phone is exploding from messages and phone calls, because everyone back in Israel, they see this video and they want to talk to me. And it was crazy. We saw it together at the beginning, muted. After the speech, we saw it again on sound, and we also let everyone around us to watch. There were a bunch of White House people around us, and we were for the first watch. I was happy. I saw Evyatar alive after a year and 4 months. We saw him on October the 7th. We have no idea what is going on with him. For a year and 4 months, we had only believed, and seeing him alive, speaking. I didn't hear his voice for so long. I didn't see his eyes for so long. To see him with Guy, his friend, we said, that's amazing. It's a miracle. They protected each other. But then slowly we understood the situation. We understood that they were emotionally tortured in this video. It wasn't for fun. We saw that they are exhausted. We saw that they are so thin in their faces, that they are pale. And then came the testimonies, which were very, very bad. Because until that point, we had some kind of an illusion how their lives looked like. We believe that they are being treated, on a basic level with humanity. And when we heard the testimonies, this illusion was shattered, and we understood it's much more worse than we thought.
So when you talk about the testimony, you're talking about that now, that video that's ingrained in all of our minds, the video of him in the tunnel digging his own grave and explaining what he eats and writing on the wall. That video came out. How much longer in time did that come out after the first video?
So it took half a year. And in that half a year, actually, when the hostages released that stayed with Evyatar and Guy came to Israel, they came running to my parents. They became one unit in this dungeon, all four of them. It was Guy and Evyatar, Tal Shoham, and Omer Venkert, and they protected each other. They really became family. And they told us about the tunnel we saw on the video from August. Same tunnel. Like when I asked Tomer if he recognized something in this chamber, he said, "Of course, those are my pants. This is my spoon. This is my plate." I mean, he lived there for so many days. And they told us about this 3.5 feet wide terror tunnel with on a 30 feet long. And in the end, there's an iron door where the terrorists are living. And they just had themselves, and that's it. And they had a pit. They dug a pit for their needs, and they eat and sleep right next to it on filthy mattresses. So I mean, I try to imagine the stench sometimes, the smell. It's horrible, and they have no stimulus, which is also something that can drive a man crazy. Nothing to read, nothing to play with. You only have each other. They and add to that the starvation, the intentional starvation, the lack of fresh water, fresh air, sunlight, the lack of when usually they had lights. There are a light bulb that is on 24 hours, 24/7. So it's also very confusing. And when the light goes off, it's complete darkness, complete. You can taste the darkness. You cannot see your hands in front of your face. So it's a very, very cruel place. And add to that the fact that they have abusive captors that just enjoy doing cruel stuff to them, like beating them if they like to do so, throwing on them the food and water when they get it every 24 to 48 hours. They were treated as not as human beings, but as animals or something lower than that. And I mean, I can't understand how a human being can do it to another human being.
So let me ask you about that, because as you're talking, I'm thinking to myself, like from your perspective, what do you think what do you think Hamas and the people who are members of Hamas are? Like, is it just an evil force? Is this like, do you believe that these people are just inherently evil and they'll always be like this? Like, what do you must have given this some thought. I mean, what you're talking about is beyond words, but what do you think it is?
I think it's radicalism. They are extremists. They have very radical Islamic jihad narrative. So they probably see my brother as a soldier, although he's not a soldier. They see all the young men as soldiers. So they treat him like a soldier who, I don't know, may have hurted one of their siblings. Okay, if I try to think like them, and they don't care about human life so much. They were even bragging about stealing the food from their own people, or they were loudly enjoying the food so that the hostages will hear and suffer more. I don't know. I mean, the psychology of this incident is probably very, very interesting in a bit of a twisted way. But I do think that right now we are fighting an evil force. Those people who are spitting in the face of Western values. They don't care about human lives at all. They don't care about their own people. And the hostages are the only insurance right now, which is that's why things are so complex.
Right, I was going to ask you. So, do you think that this is a war where it's evil, this radical type of mentality that you're talking about, and it's isolated to the 20 living hostages, the 40 hostages total? Or do you think that, let's say today, God be willing, your brother and the other hostages are released? Do you think that this type of evil force continues forward beyond today?
After the hostages will be released,
Correct. Yeah.
I think I think so. Yeah, I believe
Yeah.
it's it is a very big problem of Israel. It is a very big problem to the Jewish people and to the Western world, to Western values, to liberalism. Um, I think that we'll have to do something about it when the hostages will come back. Um, I mean, those people will love to continue and kill Jews. No matter how many deals you'll do with them, they will do a deal only if they'll think that they are still will be able to kill Jews. That's why I think. That's what I think.
So,
Um,
so then in your mind, do you think that there was it was a mistake by the Israeli government? You think the Israeli government should have emptied all of the prisons from the terrorists that they had, traded thousands and thousands of you know, Hamas terrorists for every single hostage on day one? Would it have been the same difference?
I don't know. Um, I know that I will give my life for my brother. I know that everyone will give their own lives for their siblings. That's what I do. That's what I do to my when I have kids. I'll do the same for them because
Sure,
that's what you do for your loved ones.
true.
Um, and I do know that also at the end, the Israeli government and the Israeli military they had a blind spot, and now they have to take the responsibility to bring back our brothers and sisters. Those guys, there are this value of redeeming the captives is such a core value of the Jewish soul of the Jewish nation. Um, so that now they have no choice. They won't say it out loud. I think they will never sacrifice the hostages. That's what I'm trying to say. Um, but they cannot say it out loud because it will harm negotiations. So, but I do think it's like what drives them now to make this deal with the president and so on.
So your brother lost, I think it's like 50% of his weight now. I think he's like what down to like less than 100 pounds. I heard. I mean the torture and the level of evil is just mind blowing. Um, and if we look at Hamas as an evil entity, what about all these other entities? Like, has your family heard that like Red Cross, for example, has gone in to check on your brother? Are there any outside entities like the United Nations going in and making sure that your brother is fed, is receiving any food, let alone proper nutrition? Have you heard of anything like that?
We tried. We tried to make it happen. We spoke with whoever we can in those organizations. They always say they want to do it. Hamas doesn't allow to anyone to enter. I think they are not being pushed enough. If Qatar or Turkey will have that phone call to Hamas leaders, then someone will visit the hostages. So I see um, that the Arab leaders have the responsibility to make sure that the hostages will be treated.
Red Cross was there though. That incident where your brother was tortured and watching the other hostages being released, wasn't Red Cross
Yeah,
collecting those hostages at that
that's
moment?
correct. That's correct. Yeah, they were like 10 feet from each other. The Red Cross had no idea. That's what they claim.
Right.
Um, my mom and Guy's mom, they've met with the Red Cross president in Geneva a week after the video of Evyatar. And they said, I wish we could do something, but we've lost so many men in this ordeal. And again, they say our hands are tied. We cannot do. We can do nothing because it's
Do you
Hamas
believe it?
there, not allowing. I don't know. I think again the pressure. It's very convenient to push those organizations, but I think they are not relevant enough, and we need to push the Arab leaders to do something about it to make sure that hostages will survive, and that should be a demand until the point the hostages will be released, and that has to be brokered by the Arab countries. Until the point we could release the hostages, they must be preserved, they must be alive, and they must be well treated. They must be visited by a doctor, an outside doctor. And that could happen, I believe, very, very soon if an agreement will be signed.
Yeah, but these organizations, like what about the United Nations? Didn't you go and speak in front of did you speak in front of the Security Council?
Yes, I have.
I mean, so which nations are in the UN Security Council these days?
The US, of course, and Argentina, which are the greatest allies right now in the council.
Yeah,
For Israel,
Mile's amazing.
it is. And there's so many others which don't like Israel so much, like Pakistan, Algeria, and a bunch more. And there are some neutral delegations there. But I think at the very end, the UN isn't relevant like it used to be. It's a political stage. It's a place for leaders to come, give those speeches, collect whatever they can collect from the voters, to show some things to the other nations. I don't think it really has like true influence on what is really happening on reality. It's more of a political game by now.
But do you think the people sitting on the Security Council from all over the world care about humanity?
I think they do. Maybe they're too naive, or they just like their jobs. But you know what? Maybe it's more complex than that. Maybe some of them do, some of them doesn't. Um, I know that some of the things that people say out loud and in the media and in conferences are not always the same things that they say in closed doors. That's maybe one of the biggest lessons I've learned in this journey. So I believe same goes for the UN.
Like what have you seen firsthand? Like when have you seen um, an individual speaking publicly, perhaps in defense of Hamas against Israel, versus in closed doors where they speak favorably about, your brother, the other hostages, Jews around the world?
That's what the Israeli delegation to the UN told me. They say, what you see now is a show. You're going to hear things that you wouldn't like, um, and tough things to hear as a Jew, as a supporter of the liberal free world. Um, and then I've heard those things. I try to listen, and they say to me, usually they don't speak like that behind closed doors. They don't speak like that to each other. It's so again, I don't know who to
Do you
believe to.
believe it?
But I don't
What's
know
the difference? What's the difference, right? Until you see action and results, it's irrelevant, right?
exactly, but that's the thing. I think the UN is just not relevant as it used to be. So do whatever they want, say whatever you want, say whatever you want behind
Look,
doors,
they have
or
such a history of being anti-Semitic. It goes back way before October 7th. It's years and years and years. It's a
that's
farcical
right.
entity. It's incompetent. It's impotent. It's ridiculous, right? That's just the bottom line. There are other entities that perhaps are more powerful, more effective, more in your corner. I know that you were, you've mentioned you spent some time with President Trump. I know that recently you were in the Oval Office and sat down with him. So how effective, like, why do you need to lean on the American government? Do you find that President Trump is more effective than the Biden administration? Do you find that President Trump has been more powerful, more potent as it relates to helping the hostages and the hostage families than even Bibi Netanyahu?
Um, First, I try to be the most effective as I can, and I see that the American ministry is one to trust. The president of the United States is the most important player in this game because of his influence on the area. Um, I think President Biden could do more, much more. To be honest, I do grateful for what he did because um, he did brought a deal that saved more than 100 hostages at the beginning of the war. He did made the guidelines for the second deal that happened when Trump was elected. Um, so I am grateful for what happened, but I think he could have chosen a different strategy. He could have meet more hostage families. Um, he could be more empathetic to us. He could be more supportive of Israel. I think that, he could do things better. And maybe some of his political interests confused him. And now I see an American administration that is fighting like crazy. They are determined, they are brave, and they are willing to do a lot in order to bring back all hostages, all of them, not only parts. And I have it's amazing. I've met so many American officials since Trump was elected. It's unbelievable. I've met more than every other American citizen probably have met. So it's and it says a lot. It says a lot.
What do you think it is about the Americans then? Do you think it's just human nature, or do you think there's like a financial interest with Israel? Is it about democracy? Why does America care so much about Israel?
I think those are the shared values because um, there are many reasons to be partners, right? It can be economical interests, like they have with Qatar, for example. Um, but with Israel, I really believe it's history. It goes uh, very back in history, um, and it's the shared values. It's because Israel is the only democracy in the area. Um, I think that also the um, Christian world and the Jewish world has a lot in common, more than what people think. Um, and also because I think there are many good Jewish people um, which are connected with the American government. But that goes for I think it doesn't matter if it's a Republican government or Democratic one. Um, and I don't want to sound like the Jewish people are taking control of America because it's not right. Um, but I met with amazing people, really. Empathetic people that are willing to act, not only to speak and talk. And
Well, some people would argue that Israel and the Jewish people are taking over the American government, but others might say that it's Qatar. You mentioned the Arab nations quite a bit. Curious, like in your opinion, do you think Qatar has more knowledge about your brother's safety, the well-being of all of the hostages? Do you think Qatar has more influence than America to get the deal done? What's Qatar's role in all of this?
I think Qatar have a lot of responsibility. Um, they are the one to host Hamas leadership, and it doesn't matter how much they try to give excuses for that, and how much they try to be the brokers of the Middle East and whatever. Um, at the very end, they gave Hamas leadership shelter. Um, those people should be illegal and behind bars. Um, And I think we should put more light on their responsibility. And another proof for that is the release of Idan Alexander. They just, they brought him out free just to show President Trump that they can do it. And they did it. They did it. And when we try to confront Qatar officials about it, they say, no, it's Hamas. They decided to do it. We have no influence. But I mean, of course they lie. Of course they lie.
What about the allegations of genocide? Like, what's your opinion on, how right now the world's turned upside down and they're
Yeah.
saying that Israel is committing genocide on the people in Gaza. What's
Yes.
your opinion on that situation?
I think it's a political argument. I don't know exactly why they do it, but here's what I do know. When Israel image in the world collapses because Hamas is launching a starvation campaign, or because leaders are speaking about a genocide, or because leaders and nations are declaring a Palestinian state, its influence on negotiations is bad. It breaks negotiations every time, and we saw it a dozen times in those 2 years. Never the opposite, never. It's always a bad influence on the hostages. It's always bad influence on the war on Gaza. So um, I'm not sure why they do it, and I'm not trying to
Well,
blame them.
clearly there's like a very strong propaganda war coming across the planet as it relates to, I think, a religious war, right? I think it is Islam versus Christianity and Judaism. And I think the Jews are not good at marketing.
That's
Right. To
right.
put it bluntly, I think they're really losing the PR war on several fronts. And the younger generation is maybe in some cases the anti-Semitism was there and it's unlocked, but I think they're really learning a lot. So, as a young man in his 20s, are you concerned about this hatred of Jewish people on a global scale for years to come?
Of course, of course, of course. We have to make sure that we stick together. One of our biggest problems as Jewish people is that we tend to be divided, and we have to stay united because so many radical groups want to erase us from the earth. And it doesn't matter if you are Reform or Orthodox or ultra Orthodox or conservative. It doesn't matter. If you are Jewish, um, you are in some ways a devil. You should be perished. And that's so sad that that's our reason to be united. But we have to remember this. And hopefully my generation and the next generation will have the strength and the wisdom to make things different. I mean, I'll try whatever I can after Evyatar comes back.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a time period right now that is the most holy of days for Jews around the world. We're in between, as we speak today, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. I'm curious, since your brother was taken hostage, and your friends too. I'm sure Guy is your friend as well, and other people now. Have you found religion? Are you closer to religion? Do you have more faith, or have you maybe become a little bit less religious as a result of this situation?
Uh, it's complicated. I have a very complicated relationship now with God. I find it almost absurd to believe in God in this crazy, painful world. I mean, how is it even possible that my sweet kid brother was kidnapped and that he's tortured for so long? How is that even possible with the world with God, right? Um, so I find it very hard to believe, but there is another voice in my in my head, which is always pushing me to pray, to hope, to have faith. I know that Evyatar and the others in the tunnels, I know that they have faith. I know that, because if they didn't have faith, they would die. That's what, by the way, doctors said to us after seeing the videos, the video on August. They said, in Evyatar's condition right now, in your body's condition, he cannot survive for a few more days. So the only reason he survives is faith, because he knows that he's going to make it. So, and also I pray, I really pray that our leaders will have the strength, the wisdom to make the moral choices, to make the right choices. So, I have this community in my head speaking with me. I don't want to sound crazy, but I have
No.
those two voices all the time, so it's really complicated.
You're not crazy. I mean, I can't even imagine what you've been going through for the past 2 years, mentally, intellectually, you and your family and your loved ones. I can't even imagine it. So, if you were going to speak out, if you were going to say something to President Trump today, what would you say? If you're going to send President Trump a message on this show today, what's the message?
I want to thank him first for being so brave, and strong, and making the hostages first priority, making my brother and our loved ones first priority. He also made a promise to us. He made a promise to us that he will bring the hostages, and I know how determined he is. So he gotta do it. He just gotta do it. But it's really important for me that he will also make sure that the hostages will survive this period of time, and not only by threats. I know that President Trump liked to threat. We have to use more tools in order to make sure that the hostages will get proper food, proper medical care. I know that Special Envoy Steve Witkoff has tried to work on something regarding that, because they may not have the time to survive this. We don't know when is going to be a deal signed. We don't know, even if a deal will be signed, we don't know if all the hostages will come back. I pray that all of them will come back and together, but we don't know. So we have to make sure until the point all of them are being released, they must be fed, they must be taken care of.
What about Israel's leader, Bibi Netanyahu? If you were going to leave a message for him on the show, what would you ask Bibi?
That I know it's his responsibility to bring back my brother, and I know that he's not escaping from it. I know that he's willing to do a lot to bring him back, to bring the hostages back. And I count on him. I have no other choice. Me and all the citizens of Israel and all the Jewish nation, we are counting on the Prime Minister to bring back the hostages as soon as possible, safe and sound.
Ilay, each of my guests ends the show the same way. I lead with the name of the show, Some Future Day, and then they finish the sentence. Are you game for that?
Let's do it. My honor.
In some future day, when you and your brother are reunited, you will.
We will go visiting all the beautiful communities and amazing people that took part in this crazy, crazy journey. And we're gonna do a lot of fun together.
I love that. Is there anything else that you want to add today that we haven't covered that you think is important?
No, I think we've touched it all. I hope that someday you could hear Evyatar play, because he wanted people, because he wanted to share his music. I really want this to happen in the future as well.
I would love that. What are his, like, if you can mention quickly, like, I know when he was 10, he was already listening to AC/DC and Guns N' Roses, but today, what does he love? What's his favorite band today?
Wow, that's a tough one. I don't know if you have a favorite one, but I know that his music taste is much more vast. He can hear everything. from Mediterranean music to progressive rock, and also hip hop, black music. He's really into many things. Also trance music and techno, which he likes to dance, but also to listen to.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And, obviously love you and your family. And I only wish that you're reunited today, literally
Thank you,
now.
Mark. Thank you. We love you as well. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Some Future Day. I know your time is super valuable, so I hope you learned how you can leverage emerging technology to improve your life. And exciting news, my new book, Some Future Day, How AI is Going to Change Everything, is now available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, and other major booksellers across the globe. I am so proud to share that because of your support, the book topped the charts. It became #1 bestseller in cryptocurrency, #1 bestseller in artificial intelligence, and #1 bestseller in robotics. So, if you're curious and ready to learn how AI can enhance your career, your community, and your family, get yourself a copy today.